to Cook Along with Shropshire Lad edition. Can't even remember what edition. 10th week, I think. I've been rushing around today. To be fair, I've literally just about got set up. I've just been trying to sort the camera out now. Realise it's 4:30. Can you just about see what's going on there? This looks alright to me. In fact, I could probably bring you a little bit closer. Apologies, mate. That's probably better, isn't it? Okay, let me just stick this in the ground and then we'll be off. I haven't even got any shoes on. It's ridiculous. Lawn's pretty hard too. Right, I think we're good. Okay, so welcome, as I said, to Shropshire Lads Cook Along today. It's National Barbecue Week this week, and so I thought it made sense that we made some barbecue dishes. Something I make a lot is Scotch eggs when I do my pop-ups and things, and they always go down really well. Lots of people have asked me for recipe before. I never have time to write the recipes up, so I thought, what better opportunity than to get it going today. So it's also a great opportunity to use my brand spanking new toy, which turned up today, which is the Komodo Joe Jr. Really pleased with this little guy. He can be coming fishing with me and camping and all sorts, but perfect for just doing a couple of little Scotch eggs on there. Perfect tool, perfect day, perfect excuse. So that's what we're going to do. In order to make the barbecue Scotch eggs, you need to know how to make my barbecue sauce. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And then once the sauce is ticking away, I'll show you how to put the eggs together. And then I've got a couple I've just put on now, cooking in there, that hopefully will be done by about the time we finish, so you can see what they look like when they're finished. And then you guys can go on and make your own. You're probably going to want to make your barbecue sauce first, like I'm going to do now as well. You can use it hot because we're just going to use it to baste on. It won't be too much of a problem if it's still warm, if you want to start now. If you are going to be doing this yourself at home, you need to set your barbecue up indirect. So if you haven't got a barbecue with a lid, then you're going to struggle, okay? Because what you'll need to do is, if you don't know what that means, it's good to maybe Google it and see a better description. But essentially, you just want to have your coals on the one side of the barbecue and then space on the other, and your food is going to go over the bit where there's no charcoal, so that it doesn't. That's why it's called indirect. Because there's no direct heat coming underneath. It's like, so your barbecue becomes an oven essentially, unless you of course have got something like this, which has got what we call a deflector plate in it, and that just stops the direct heat coming up from the coal. So you can fill the whole surface. I can fill that whole surface there with food that I wanted to cook indirect, and it wouldn't get burnt because it's got this. You probably can't see, but there's a plate in there that stops that from getting burnt. All right, okay, anyway, that's enough chatting about barbecues. I'm going to talk about this sauce. So it's an apple barbecue sauce. Apple and pork are like best friends, so it just makes perfect sense. I love apple sauce on a pork, pork back, but this is like a massively pimped up apple sauce. So first things first, going to get some water. There's about a cup of water in there. I'm going to go, it's really hard when I was writing this down earlier and sort of said this is what we're going to do. To write down the measurements for this sauce for me is really, really difficult because I always make different amounts and I just kind of know how much I've got to put in. So forgive me if it's a little bit of, it's about this much and about this much. It's as much about you making it to your own taste as for me to make it to my own. I like a vinegar-based sauce that's much more tangy than sweet. You might like your sauce super rich, super sweet. Sorry, the smoke's getting to me a bit. And so therefore you'd obviously use more sugar or more of the honey. But I'm going to show you how I do it anyway. So, first things first, I'm going to just peel some apples. I'm kind of talking you through this bit just because we need to take some time so these bad boys are cooked, you know. So, sit back and relax while I peel 3 apples. So you want to take the core out of these. This is the great thing about cooking in your garden. I'm just doing this onto the grass, and if I remember to pick it up, that's fine. If not, then it becomes the grass eventually, I suppose. 1 apple, 2. We're going to go for 3, and I'm going to get my heat on. So you need to heat up some water. There we go. So boil water. That's going to be the hottest setting probably. You'll remember from the early days me using this thing. It's pretty intense. Probably going to be bubbling up way too much. But there we go. It's not too bad for making something like a sauce, which you want to just... Essentially, we're cooking this really just to break the apples down, and also so that the spices just blend into everything a little bit better. Let's keep an eye on this temperature. So I'm aiming to get this, by the way, up to around about 150 centigrade, that is. We're coming up to 125 now. I can hear the sizzle. So if you're wondering, that's kind of what you need to do. Get your barbecue set to sort of medium. Who's that? Tasty. Oh, it's gone now. Thanks. Whoever said you love my videos. Much love. Okay, so second apple peeled. It's not COVID-19, it's the smoke. It's making me cough. I'm fit and healthy. Honestly. It is really getting me though. Right, third apple. And yes, you might want to ask again, the apples, I don't really mind what apples you want to use, Use something that's ideally British or in season. I don't think apples are really in season at all at the moment. But these are Braeburn apples, which are often British. Again though, you use cooking apples, you just want to put more, you've got to put more sugar in for, to kind of counteract the sweetness. It's just about balance really. It's about your palate and trying it as you go. So I'm just going to take the quarters out. Excuse me turning my back on you for a sec. Having a go at whips, just lost an apple. As it's only me eating it, I don't mind picking that up off the floor. Be fine. Okay, and the water's coming up to temp now, starting to bubble, which is great. Just quickly get these bits done. And the water will really help to break this down, break the apple down. You could, if you just put the apples in, you could kind of almost fry them in some sauce, in the oil. But, it's not going to be the same as putting some water in there. It really helps to just break the apple down, get as much flavour out of it as possible. And then at the end, if you want to, you could blitz this with, with a blitzer, with a, what are they called? A whisk. It's not a whisk. My brain is not with it today. What's it called? A blender, yeah. You could blend it up to make it smooth. I'm not too worried about there being a few lumps in it. If you want to squeeze it in a squeezy bottle, then you would need to. But I quite like having the odd lump of apple in it as well. Obviously, it's not going to work too much for basting on like that, but the flavour will be in the sauce anyway. So I'm just going to break these down into little bits now. I'll get these all into this water, which is now absolutely flying. I don't need a lot of water in there, that's fine. It's just, as I say, to help the apple break down, which it will do. So chopping these up into sort of like centimetre cubes. Again, that'll just help with the process. The bigger the chunks you put in, the longer it's going to take to break down that water. Keep chopping these up. Nearly there now. And then once you've got your, it's sort of like if you're making like an apple pie, what you do, you cook your apple pieces down in some water, add the sugar and the honey. Well, you don't use honey in an apple pie normally, we do in this recipe. And that will just help to start, raise the temperature, break everything down, so stuff caramelizes. And if you do blend this when it's cool, don't blend it while it's hot, by the way, because I don't want you getting splattered with boiling hot sauce. But once it's cooled down, if you do blend it, the texture of the apple kind of gives it like a silkiness as well. It's really wicked, this sauce. Like, I've had a lot of compliments at things the pop-ups and stuff that I do. I always use this barbecue sauce and people love it. So hopefully you will too. Right, so apple goes in. And that's about the only healthy thing in this whole sauce. Because after that, it's all about sugar, salt and vinegar. Okay. Right, that's nearly up to temperature now, so I'm just going to close the vents. Always about vents with barbecues, especially when you're doing an indirect cook like this. Once you get near, I'm sort of like, I don't know, 10, 15 degrees off 150 there, and that's where I know that fire's still building, so I'm going to starve some of the oxygen. So I'm going to put that down to a third of the gap, and that will start to slow the temperature down. And once these things sort of hit temperature, that's it then. They'll just sit there all day. I mean, My friend bought one of these the other day, and he had 10-hour burn out of it and did a whole pork shoulder on it, you know, this tiny little thing. Amazing. Right, so apples are cooking away. So into the apples goes roughly, I would say that's 50 grams of sugar-ish, brown sugar in there. And then I don't use that much sugar because we're going to go for the same again. I'd say maybe 100 mils of honey in there, like that. I'm just going to let that break down a little bit. And as that starts to break down, I'm going to show you how to shell an egg. I'm going to attempt to show you how to shell an egg. Now, when I first ever did this, on my first ever pop-up, I made these, and I made about 100 of them, and didn't for a second think about shelling 100 eggs. It was like horrendous, and I ordered about 140, I think, to make sure if I had a few crack, then I wasn't short, and I was literally like, I had one spare because the amount that I wasted. But since then, I've learned a few tricks. So take your egg. I mean, this obviously seems fairly obvious, but just a light tap all over, okay? Just cracking the shell. Now, these are soft boiled, hopefully, so it's 10 times harder to handle these than if they're super hard. And then I tend to just sort of see, if I can get it close, see there's the odd bit there where I can kind of just pop away a little bit, and then you'll see the membrane. Now, I'm not going to be able to see this on the camera here, but you'll be able to see the membrane against the actual egg. And this is where I found a teaspoon can be really, really handy. Because what we do is just work that teaspoon, and if you can break the membrane, get underneath that. See that? Can you see that? That little bit of membrane there. Get your spoon underneath that, and you're happy. You're on happy days. And you watch. I'll almost certainly bugger this up now, but you should get your spoon under there. And I have got spares here just in case, because it happens to the best of us. But just starting to run that around there. Oh, it took a little bit of the white there, but we can just get, sometimes that happens, you can get it back. So regroup. It's quite fiddly, especially if you want a soft boiled egg, as I say. Now, it might seem like I'm teaching you to suck eggs or shell eggs. I say shell an egg, and it's still soft, which is what we want. Because if you like a runny yolk, when you're serving a hot barbecued smoked Scotch egg, by the way, there's a bit of cherry wood in there if you're wondering what wood I'm smoking with, then the runny yolk is the one. That one doesn't feel that runny actually, but we'll see. Alright, so that's one of those. We'll just give that a little wash. Okay, and drop that on the board there. Make sure it doesn't roll away. Right, reattend to these apples, which are now cooking along lovely. I'm starting to caramelise. Let's do our second egg. In a sec. Right, second egg. I actually started earlier, cheated, just because of time. So I've got a bit of the shell off, but this is the bit where I'm going to get underneath the skin, underneath that membrane, and just work the shell off. I'm only going to do 2, so I won't bore you with any more than this. Okay. Whoops. I think I might have buggered this one up. Trying to speed it up for you lot. Nearly there. Not the best in the world, but it'll pass. Taking a little bit of the extra off. Let's have a quick look at what's going on in here. It's starting to look rather good. Liking the sound, so that's great. So those eggs can just wait there for a sec. We'll see what we're going on with this now. So, looks like these Apples are starting to break down. They do need a little bit of time. And I've realised, as always, I've left something in the house, and that's the mustard. So if you bear with me for 2 seconds, I'm going to go and get that. I also forgot my temperature probe, which I've done at the same time, so you're running away again. Okay, so we've got the mustard. Right, so next then, into this sort of appley mix, which is nearly kind of starting to break down. It probably needs a few more minutes, but to be honest, by the time I have those eggs, it'll be all good. So once your apples start to break down, you can start to add some of the rest of the ingredients. So the first one is tomato ketchup. Okay, so this is give you an idea how much I'm using. Probably about a third of that, so about roughly 250 grams of ketchup, say, into there. Yeah, 250 grams of ketchup. You want roughly half that of, this is Dijon mustard. So I'd say that's 200 grams, so yeah, we're going to go for 2/3 of a jar of Dijon mustard. Start to work that in. I'll tell you what else I've forgotten. My soy sauce. 2 seconds. So sorry about this. Today's been a little bit. Right, soy sauce, 100 ml, maybe like just over half a bottle of soy sauce. Gonna give you some colour and some saltiness, but also just that umami kind of kick that we're looking for. Okay, and then we're going to go for a teaspoon of allspice. This is one of my favourite spices to use. And it's sort of almost like gives it a cinnamony kind of taste. Depth of flavour really. It's just really, really tasty spice. Black pepper. This is going to bring us some heat. We don't want too much heat in a barbecue sauce. Just want to know it's there. So a nice big spoon of black pepper. Going to go for some garlic granules. Can't even get those into the spoon. Garlic granules, maybe a little bit more than a teaspoon of those. Teaspoon and a half of those. And then for the smokiness, we go for the smoked paprika. So this stuff is absolutely awesome. Nice big heat teaspoon of that. And then we get that worked in. And hopefully bring it up to the boil. We're starting to look like a barbecue sauce now. As I say, you know, the longer you cook this down, then the more those apples are going to break down. And personally, I probably would. Oh no, one thing we've forgotten, which is going to be, because we've got all that sweetness, you need to counteract it with some apple cider vinegar. So you're going to go for about 100 ml of apple cider vinegar. You can always add more. You can't take it out though. So, you know, have a little taste. That's what I'm going to do right now. Just make sure that that big ball of paprika's been it's got rid of. Right. Cool. Let's have a little taste. It smells awesome. Now, the apple's really coming through already. The more it cooks down, the more that's going to come through. Ooh, pepper hit. That's all good for me though. I'm well happy with that. So I'm just going to leave that to cook. Keep breaking down. And I'll show you how to make the Scotch eggs. So I've got sent these sausages from the Jolly Hog this week, along with the barbecue actually. I think these guys may be working together. So I thought I'd give these a go. So you'll be able to get hold of these in the supermarket. Sounds like quite a good story. The three brothers who really like meat decided to start making pork products. All British, you know, it's all RSPCA assured and all that jazz. So hopefully they'll be lovely. Right. Okay, so one Scotch egg equals 2 sausages basically. You're looking for around about 150 grams of sausage meat. So what I suggest you do is, first of all, if you just pull the sausage meat out of the skin, if you've got sausages in the skins, get that all out. And then once you've got that, in fact, I'll do all 4 now, and then we're halfway there, aren't we? So get the sausage meat out of the skins, like so. That's one. Don't put them all together, otherwise you won't know how much sausage meat to put in each one. Keep the sausage meat separate for each one. 3. Okay, right, so we've got that those separated. So what we do now, we'll try and do this quite close actually so you can see. Basically get the meat, actually, quick tip, always keep your hands wet to handle sausage meat, makes it so much easier. Okay, so hands are wet and it won't stick to you. The sausage meat can be quite sticky, it's quite pork mince, it's quite soft, especially when it's got probably rusk and stuff like that in it. And then basically what I'm going to do is make it almost like a little cup, almost starting to make it egg shaped. And if you flatten this out so it's a patty on your hand, that's roughly the wall thickness of a Scotch egg. Now you've all eaten a Scotch egg, so you know it's probably no more than a centimetre thick anywhere. Then you can basically take your patty, put your egg in the middle, and then you kind of just like gently tease the meat around it. And you can push, you can feel where the areas are where it's a bit thicker or a bit too much meat, and just sort of work that meat around the egg until it's completely encased. And it doesn't matter at this stage if it looks a bit shabby, because we're going to wrap it in bacon in a minute, and the bacon's going to pull everything together and make it sort of all tight and obviously tastier as well. So covered in sausage meat. Do the second one. So get all that meat together, make sure it's worked in like this. Sauce is kicking off here. Might have to turn down the temperature. See if that makes a difference. All right. Patty again. So as I say, thickness of what you want it to be. Egg into the middle. Wrap it up. And we have a second. Boom. Right, quick wet of the hands. Okay. Now, I've also, from the Jolly Hog, got some streaky bacon, which I sent today. And that's exactly what you want, really, for doing this. You want nice, thin, and this is super thin, streaky bacon. Okay, the streaky's good because there's loads of fat content in it. And that's kind of what you want, so it goes nice and crispy. But also, it's just much easier to wrap this around. Trying to use back bacon, thick back bacon, is not going to work. They're going to unfold, they're going to look ugly. The thinner the bacon you get, the better. And then, basically, we're going to take this rasher of bacon, start at the top, and just slowly work it. Egg. You're going to need rashers per one, but you just... And that will just start to pull everything together. Sorry, I'm taking it off shot, I realise. That'll start to pull everything together. Second one. So just basically take it from where you stopped. So that's where it finished. I'm just going to add the bacon there and carry on round. So that you're pretty much wrapping the entire thing in bacon, which is obviously awesome because bacon is life. We all love bacon. So, bacon wrapped egg. All right. Same with the second one. Take these out. So, start at the top, pop it on, wrap it round, smooth it out. If you get little creases, see there's like a crease there, just help it along with your hands, you know. It doesn't need to be that neat. By the time they've been smoked, they're going to look awesome anyway. Because they take on loads of colour and everything shrinks, you lose some fat, and they will be delish. And then just finally wrap that up. Boom, number 2. Okay, so eggs are done. Just going to wash my hands. Be interested to see how the other 2 are getting on actually. I'm going to turn this off now. So my barbecue and then I off. And then that's what you do. Give them a blend. They'll be absolutely wicked. Get rid of, just have a little bit of a clean up, Adam. Like the bombs at the place as usual. My bad. I did have a brush. Yes, I did. Forget my brush. It's here. Right. So these are always Barbecue Man's friend as well. A brush for brushing on sauces. So what we're going to do now is our barbecue sauce is just give these guys a full coating. Take your time. Make sure every last little bit is coated in barbecue sauce. Just going to give a wicked little finish to these gorgeous little Scotch eggs. So wrap that up. And you can obviously serve these with extra sauce afterwards. But this is kind of just gives it like a nice caramelization. And then you're just going to turn it over, just do the bottom as well. You know, you're always going to have a bit of a base because you want to be able to stand them up in the smoker. Make sure that one's completely covered, I think. Do the second one. As I say, take your time. Ideally, you want to put this on when the sauce is cool as well, because it's going to be stickier when it's cool. While it's still hot, straight out of the pan like this, it's kind of like, you know, it's still runny because the sugar's not had a chance to re-solidify. But I'm doing it for you guys here, so I'm going to go with the hot stuff. All right, and then they are ready for the barbecue. Probably look a bit gross at this point, but they won't when they come out. So hopefully I can show you one that I should have made earlier now. So these bad are looking pretty good. I'm liking the feel of that one. I think maybe they just need a slight hit of glaze just to finish them. Again, you can always re-glaze stuff as and when. Okay, so these 2 are going to go in. One there. One there. Wash my hands again. Now I'm just going to get my probe and just see if these are ready so I can slice one open and show you. So we're looking for, not quite there, 57, 62. You need to be looking for 72 really. So I think they've probably got 10 minutes, something like this. Those are the ones. So to be honest with you, probably not going to keep you to see these done at the end. But what you can do is go to my Instagram or my Facebook, and I'll post them up once they're cooked. And you can see exactly what they look like to finish. Or you scroll back through my pictures. I've made them loads of times before. You'll find them in there. But that is essentially how I do my barbecued Scotch eggs. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a go. Enjoy National Barbecue Week. Please check out my Facebook and Instagram later on tonight. There's going to be a big giveaway going down around about 7:30. Competition that you guys can all enter. There's nothing you need to do. Really simple competition, but to win yourself some barbecue goodies and a private barbecue class with me via Zoom, obviously, because of social distancing. But yeah, that's coming up. So thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. I will see you on Friday, where we're going to be cooking something else on a barbecue. But as usual, I haven't decided what it is yet. Okay, I'm Shropshire Lad. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your mates. See you next week, or see you Friday.